Welcome, KironJ, and welcome everyone. I met you for the first time when you held a webinar with Francis Sue.
Yes, I remembered. Once you'd mentioned that, I remembered that you were
Yeah,
there.
yeah, it's a little bit more than a year ago. She was in Sydney, and it
Yeah.
was early morning there and evening here. And yeah.
Mm.
And I asked the same question for everyone. How did the course come into your life? How did it
Thank,
happen?
thank you, Anna. It's lovely to be here with you all, and it's a great pleasure to answer this question. I invite us, as I'm speaking about this, to consider it's all the mind's thinking. You know, my experience, I'm going to tell you my experience, but I'd welcome you into thinking, this is my thinking. So I started with a Catholic upbringing, and Jesus was a very frightening figure on the cross, all very scary. However, there was something there. There was some connection that I felt. Then I left the Catholic religion behind and was not interested at all in spiritual things for about 10 years. And then various life events sent me into exploration, and I started looking. And a phrase came to me from the Bible. I wasn't reading the Bible, I wasn't involved in anything Christian, but somehow I read or heard this phrase, Jesus saying, "Whatsoever I have done, you will do, and more so." And this completely stopped me in my tracks. And simultaneously, I knew exactly what he was saying, and I didn't understand at all what he was saying on the two different levels. Something new, something thought, well, I'm a single parent, not terribly well, no money, and you say I can do what you can do. So I challenged him almost. I said, okay, if you say this, it must be true. Show me how it's true, because I don't know consciously how it's true. This was well before A Course in Miracles for me, but a lot of spiritual seeking going on. And some years after that, I went into a period of 6 years of serious illness. I was bedridden for that time and couldn't sit up. I was flat on my back, couldn't tolerate any incline. And for 5 of those years, I couldn't see and I couldn't speak. And for the last 2.5 years, I was in nappies. I couldn't even roll off the mattress on the floor and use a pot. I had to have nappies, diapers, you'd say in America. And for the last 16 months, I was fed on a tube because I was eating so little. I was approaching organ failure. I was very close to complete organ failure. And they would have sectioned me under the Mental Health Act if I hadn't, I couldn't speak, but my communication was a for yes and a for no. I could just about do that. So it was, okay, I'll have this tube. So I was fed by a tube, which stopped the approaching organ failure. So during that time, not a lot was happening physically, just a decline, but in my mind, enormous things were happening. You know, at first it was a complete shock because I was walking around normally, and then suddenly I couldn't stand up. And then it just got worse and worse and worse and worse. So I was at home, carers came in 4 times a day, just did the minimum. My son was at home for the first 2 years and then went to university. So I had a lot of time all on my own. A couple of friends that would pop in sometimes, but it was effectively a solitary confinement. And given that experience, there's either sinking without trace or rising to the challenge of it. And there was something in me right at the beginning that said, this does not feel perfect, but it has to be perfect from the healing point of view because it's happening. And I want to know the perfection of this. And I'm not saying I stayed with that consistently. I had some very, very challenging times, as you might imagine. But that was my guiding light. There's a perfection here, and I want to know what it is. And I wasn't particularly feeling Jesus's presence for a long time, but there was a lot of spiritual connection going on, a lot of past life, we could say, past dream experiences coming up to be looked at and let go. No distractions, just there you are, get on with it. And mercifully, my mind did choose to accept the forgiveness opportunity. And there was a big, big forgiveness of my father, physical father. It was a sexual abuse story, and I hated him and all that kind of experience. But just before I started to physically recover, I had this massive healing. I just knew I loved him. I still thought at that stage he'd done something, but I didn't care. I loved him. And this was the miracle at the end of many, many miracles in that time that allowed the physical recovery to start happening. And what was the physical process was a 3-day mind training, secular, nothing to do with spirituality, seemingly. And this trainer came to my house and gave me 3 days of training. And the premise was, you are being a genius at doing this. Would you like to use your genius to do something else? So it was inviting full responsibility for my experience. And somehow I was the mind that accepted that invitation. And from there, within 3 days, I could sit up, I could speak, I could sing, I could eat. It's called the lightning process, this secular mind training. And it was lightning. After 6 years of decline, in 3 days, boom, there were definite signs of physical recovery, which of course can only reflect the mental recovery. And then there was a lot of years of slowly coming back to a physical life. I could see, but I couldn't read. I couldn't look at a screen for years. I could speak, and then my voice would go for months at a time because I'd overdone it. So it wasn't bingo, everything back immediately. It was quite a long process. Never thought I'd work again. No, that was unimaginable. However, 5 years after I started to recover, I found A Course in Miracles again. I had briefly come across it 30 years before. I felt to buy it in a book club, and I looked at it, flicked through it, and thought, oh no, there's a mistake here. This is gobbledygook. I don't know what this is all about. And I closed the book and passed it on to a friend within a week. Never thought any more about it until 5 years after the start of my recovery, when I was able to travel a bit, not work. I was in a very weird, eclectic spiritual meeting with all sorts of speakers. And one of them was A Course in Miracles. And there was something about him. I thought, I like what's going on there. Don't quite know what it is, but oh, you're mentioning that book. Oh, I think that was the book 30 years ago. Perhaps I'll have another look. And so when I looked again, all sorts of miracles going on too. I was homeless, penniless, and was led to the right place and the right group. And somebody gave me a book. I had an offer of 2 books, actually. Which version would you like? And I thankfully chose the blue book and started the lessons. And I turned to the beginning of the workbook, having been told that's, you know, a good place to start. And it was such a different experience from the 30 years before. I knew the voice. I knew the presence instantly. Didn't need to go beyond word one. That was it. Oh, Jesus, right, okay, we're here, let's go. And I went into about 2 years of intense study. I wasn't working. I had no money to go anywhere or do anything. I was living in a room in a house with the perfect forgiveness opportunities all around me. And I just dived in and dived in and dived in and knew this was my healing. And then shortly after that, I was given the prompt to lead my first group with the course, because I've come from a background of healing and self-development groups, work, that kind of thing. So I just took that experience and laid it at the feet of A Course in Miracles at Jesus. And I said, help me help you. Help me help you with this most miraculous, fabulous and riveting spiritual teaching. It was so deep and so clear. And the first group I led was for 2 people, and it was to support them to study the first 50 lessons. So it was 9 weeks, physically face to face. And after that, through a whole miraculous chain of events, I got in contact with the Miracle Network, which is an organisation that supports students in the UK. I got invited to run their Miracle Cafe, which was at the time an in-person once a month event. And then I got invited to be their events manager. So I did that as well. I moved to London. Again, miracles every which way to allow this to happen. And I spent 2.5 years with the Miracle Network, starting to do some events, but being their events manager, meeting loads of people, of course, study, practice. And then 5 years ago, just over 5 years ago, I left them to teach full time. And I've been doing that, teaching full time, practicing forgiveness, seeing miracles, accepting the challenges. I'm now part-time as a hobby, working as a ski instructor at the local dry ski slope. So from having not being able to move hardly at all, to never thinking I'd work again, never thinking I could be productive, to full-time Course in Miracles teaching, and part-time doing a very physical activity of ski instructing. And here we are, and very happy to share this with you.
Wow, thank you. That's a miraculous life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
And you told me just before we started that you have allergies now. It's coming back, or what happens now?
Yes, thank you. Well, I mean, it's no coincidence, is there? There's nothing that happens coincidentally. So my thought today was to invite us all to focus on the power of the mind, not only in how it can attempt to destroy itself. So that six-year lying down phase was all self-attack. It was all the mind attacking itself and then considering whether it wanted to choose again and, you know, going through that process. So it can use the mind like that to make a world full of disease, disaster, death, difficulties, conflicts. It's all our thinking. It's all our dreaming. That's where we claim our power again. Not to see it as outside of ourselves, not to see it as random, not to see it as somebody else's fault, our parents' fault, our culture's fault, our government's fault. It's all our dream in all its details. So with that in mind, on Wednesday, I ate lunch, a normal lunch, food that I've eaten for years, and started to get this allergic reaction, redness, tingling, quite strong. Oh, okay, this is self-attack. My mind is, or I am the mind that's attacking itself. Okay, because I'm going through very, very deep healing and all these things need to come to the surface. So, okay, this is another version of self-attack. Go to the chemist, get a strong antihistamine, like a tablet that will suppress the reaction. But of course, that's not the answer. And almost 2 days later, it's getting stronger. It doesn't seem to matter what food I eat. I am getting this reaction. I haven't eaten today because yesterday I was absolutely livid red here, as well as other bits of my body. Perhaps I'm a little bit red now, but I thought I don't want to come and meet you with a great big reaction. I'll save food for afterwards. So this morning, I've been to the doctors. I've had a blood test. I've gone through all the normal things because presumably at a worldly level, I'm eating something that suddenly is not agreeing with my system. But of course, that's not the answer. So I was sitting in the surgery waiting for the blood to be taken with the sane mind cannot conceive of illness. The innocent mind cannot project because it cannot attack. And I see this as incredibly powerful practice to be in a worldly situation. You said in some of the talking earlier on, you were talking about the dream. I'm a dream of the dream, but how do I be in it? So this is an example to offer. I seem to be in a doctor's surgery. I seem to be waiting for a blood test. I seem to be having a very strong reaction, but I don't know what it's to. I've done nothing new, worldly speaking. And I had some notes with me. The sane mind cannot conceive of illness. And yet I'm conceiving of illness. So what is seeing this, feeling it, isn't sane. So the invitation as I see it is, do I want to make the journey without distance in my mind from identifying with an insane mind that thinks it's here and thinks it's got a reaction to the sane mind that would look beyond it all? Do I want to do that? Jesus, be with me. Of course, Jesus is an idea in my mind, but it's helpful at these times to hold his hand, be with him. The innocent mind cannot project. The innocent mind couldn't be seeing this doctor's surgery, couldn't be thinking it's real, couldn't be thinking that the taking the blood is real. No. The innocent mind would not see it that way at all. I was kind of seeing it that way, although obviously not completely. Do I want to make that journey in my mind? Yes, I do. Yes, I'm absolutely sure I do. I may not be able to leap to it fully this second, but I'm calling on the strength of Christ. I'm joining another teacher tomorrow. The title of the gathering is Calling on the Strength of Christ. So I'm calling on the strength of Christ, to let the strength of Christ prevail. Not to deny this is the insane mind's experience, but I want to see it through the sane mind's perspective. It really is a dream. It really, really is a dream, and it has no effect. Only what God gave us can affect us. Everything else is fantasy. So I'm in the middle of this. I'm looking forward to some lunch after we've finished and not knowing what the reaction will be. I will eat food I didn't eat in the last couple of days, but I suspect there could be another ongoing reaction because I feel so in the middle of this forgiveness classroom.
I so recognize myself in not being able to make the leap. I know, but I am willing.
Mm.
And also what I pick up from listening to you, that I become a little bit curious. What is the forgiveness work this time? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And that kinds of opens me up. I give myself the permission of, I cannot make the leap now. I can see that.
Mm.
I
Mm.
see both the pictures at the same time.
Mm.
And it's a bit confusing. Often I feel nauseous when I see both the pictures
Right.
at the same
Yeah.
time. But just that little opening
Mm.
of being a bit curious. What is the forgiveness work
Mm.
now?
Lovely. The willingness to be willing, and that kind of
Kind of
idea.
that,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Because you don't know what the forgiveness work is, right? At the moment, you don't know for your situation at the moment what the forgiveness work is.
I know, uh, not the split mind, but I have access to, I know this is self-attack.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
know this is still a choice for separation.
yeah.
In general terms, I know that's what's going on.
Mm,
And I know that has to be reversed.
yeah.
But the steps and anything particular about it, no, I'm following, I'm listening. Yes. And it seems to me very helpful to practice with all the little things. In our experience, they're little things. So somebody says something and we're a little bit annoyed. Not a big deal, but there's a little rising of don't like that. Right there, we can come to the mind and see that general perspective. Right then, my mind is choosing the ego inner teacher. Right now, it wants to attack. Nothing to do with another person. It's made an image that it's chosen to be irritated at, and then it wants to be irritated. This is a civil war. This is going on in the mind. So we can keep choosing to stop. That's the mind choosing attack, choosing separation. Right now, am I willing to go in this direction? Am I willing to let go of the attraction to getting angry? Because we have a sick attraction to guilt, the Course says. And I often talk about the analogy of addiction, because we can understand that in a worldly sense. A drug addict is addicted to their drug, and they want that beyond everything else. They might say yes, no, of course, and go for their drug. That's what they want. Everything else thrown out the window, they want their drug because there's this attraction for it. Until, of course, they decide to go into a deep recovery process, which will not be easy. So I see us as addicts of guilt, addicts of separation. It's a deep addiction. Anything we could name here, crack cocaine and anything else, nothing like the addiction we have to guilt, to separation, to being this individual person. I think we could not overestimate the depth of that attraction, the depth of that addiction, and the depth of the recovery process required to come out of it. So I'm with this much of the time when I have a little irritation, when I have a body symptom, whatever might be going on. That's the addiction working. That I want guilt, so I want to put it out there. I want to be sick. I don't want to be the all-powerful Christ that I am. Right now, the mind is choosing that, and it has a sick attraction. It has an addiction. So I have to, or I choose to sign up for the deep recovery process that's required. And just like a heroin addict might do whatever their substitute is, I can't think of the word now, but they do stepping stones to come out of their addiction. we can do that as well. So we see both pictures as you were describing. Oh, I feel a bit seasick. I don't quite know where to go. That's all part of, I do want to recover, and I'm just following the step by step by step part of it. Yeah, and we can. The Course says we can.
Yeah. And what happens to me is that I'm so identified with the addictions, actually, with the pain, the anger, the guilt. So when I am choosing to not practice guilt, because it would be easy to practice like, oh, I'm sick again, I have done it wrong again, I have thought with I'm thinking now with the ego and I'm doing it wrong, and I go back into the guilt. But when I can see that and I choose the spirit, it feels a little bit empty, and it feels a little bit, who am I? Could you speak a little bit to that emptiness and the identity that I haven't remembered fully yet?
Yeah, thank you, Anna. Yeah, so helpful, isn't it, to share like this? Well, if we stay for the moment with the addict analogy, an addict builds their life around their addiction. If they're an alcoholic, they'll keep going to, pubs or whatever. If they're taking heroin, they'll hang out with their heroin buddies, and the life will be built around their fix. Absolutely, that is the be all and end all of their life. So when they start withdrawing from that, it's not just the heroin that goes, it's the bodies, it's the lifestyle, it's the identity of who they think they are. Now, when we've been very immersed in that, it is going to feel empty, because we won't have probably, maybe, but probably won't have just leapt to the new identity, the real identity. There will be this stepping stone away from the old identity and stepping towards the new identity, but not secure yet. And it's highly, highly likely we will feel, who am I? What am I going to do now? It doesn't feel right, but it does, but it doesn't, but it does. All in betweeny, all not secure, not sure. And the Course says, this is the time for faith. This is the time to remember that the Holy Spirit has brought you thus far and won't desert you, even though you might feel you're a bit like that. So when we are a bit like that, when we do feel empty, insecure, not sure where we're going, how to do the next bit, we can train ourselves, because it's a mind training, isn't it? The Course. We can train ourselves to recognize that no man's land, that uncomfortable place, and build the pattern of, and now I really call on you strongly. Even if you don't feel like doing it, even if you don't feel like it'll work, even if you're very resistant, there is something in our mind that can say, I am going to call on the strength of Christ. I am going to hold Jesus's hand, whatever this feels like. And we can, like a muscle, we can build that determination, we can build that pattern so that it gets easier and easier when we're in any difficulty. You're talking about a particular difficulty of emptiness and who am I and what's going on. We can build that pattern so that we say, I recognize that. That's part of the healing process, quite likely to happen. And the answer is Jesus, God, Buddha, whoever you want to call on. And again, develop the muscle, develop the strength to withstand the ego storms. Because we can say, although the ego is part of our mind, we can say the ego will be furious at this. There's likely to be all sorts of chaos in the mind when we do make that new step in our thinking. We do reject, oh, poor me, I'm the victim. Oh, no, I'll do it tomorrow. No, right now, I'm staying here. Come what may, right now. And the ego will start throwing its toys out of the pram. Do you know that expression? It's like it'll get really upset, but that's our mind in fear. So we can translate that to, my mind really wants this and it's terrified. Right now, two things are going on. But the answer is to stay here and observe the chaos, observe the storm, observe the fear. And we do that as much as we can. And then if it's all too much, go and have a cup of tea, go for a walk, read the book. Don't, oh, I think there's a fine line between being gentle, oh no, I couldn't do that today, because that's not always the answer, and not giving ourselves a really tough forgiveness classroom, more than it's actually needing to be. And again, the more we can tune in, the more we can tell. Oh, I've been here for half an hour and I'm watching the ego storm and I'm choosing this and it's so very uncomfortable. Right now, that's enough. That might be the guidance. Go and do something else. And then when we come to a similar situation, we may only need to be there for 15 minutes and it starts subsiding. Ah, this is working. Oh, I can keep doing this. Oh, this is fantastic. And the answer is always growing this connection, identifying with the mind that's remembering truth rather than the person that's having a drama. That's the healing journey. It won't mean that the ego will stop soon, automatically, but we get better and better at being able to withstand the storms, watch them, and they will subside. Yeah, I'm still having storms. This allergic reaction is a big fight from the ego, but I'm quite settled, happy to be here, all okay. So,
yeah, wonderful. Thank you. So we will bring in more people to ask questions in a little while, but I'm just curious, all these years of the 6 years of being so sick and being with your mind, and you didn't really have the course at that moment, but wasn't spirit with you? Did you experience that you were held, even though
yeah, yes,
speak a little
definitely.
bit about that, being so sick and so in your own body and alone. I work at the hospital, so I have patients
Okay,
in
right.
state, and if you just could speak to what you experienced in there.
Mm-hmm. So I did go into it with a spiritual connection. As I said, this is perfect. You tell me how it's perfect. The God I was talking to is nothing like the God of A Course in Miracles. It was not God as I now understand it, but there was some reaching beyond what was happening, which I think was key. It was that there's something else going on here, and I want to know it. I don't think I'd have survived it or, recovered in the way that I have without an understanding that this was of paramount importance. This was all important. The healing that was being offered there. So, whole teams of doctors would come in and yes and no and all that sort of thing, trying to sort out what was going on. And of course, I went through all that process. I mean, wasn't all the time, but they came, went. But but it's mind readiness, miracle readiness is what comes to say. So my mind was ready to look at this differently. I mean, I suspect that, well, I know from those experiences, the mind had attacked itself viciously and an awful lot in other dreams. Huge amount of self-attack in all sorts of ways. Seemingly, sometimes someone killing me, sometimes it would be, you know, an illness. So this was the opportunity to go into that kind of experience, but do it differently, choose again. So another mind might still be in its series of self-attack and not being ready to come out of it. So that to me explains why I've come out of it and another person might not with a similar physical condition, because the mind is still going through self-attack. It wants to self-attack. It sees value in it. It feels guilty. It wants punishment. And that's the way it's doing it. And it's not ready to do it differently. But mercifully, this time, I am the mind that chose differently. So there was this strong pull to connecting beyond what was happening, to opening my mind to spirit. There was a very, very strong pull to do that. And an awareness, just a natural awareness of observing the chaos, the decline, yeah, all the physical stuff that was going on, being in nappies. You know, it's not fun, I can tell you. Or maybe you've had experience in adulthood, I don't know, but it's quite sobering to have that kind of experience. So I would look at it, but I wouldn't be completely engulfed by it. Sometimes, yes, it did feel all too much. But more and more, there was this natural reorientation to being a mind observing what was going on. And it wasn't a bypass. I don't, if it was a bypass, I wouldn't have come through it. But there was this knowing that something else was going on, the bigger picture, the healing process. And that's where I wanted to be with. That's what I wanted to be with. That's what I wanted to stay with. And a turning point, I'll just, because I know you want to invite people, and I just feel to say, the healing, physical healing started in August 2008, and July the 3rd was my birthday. It was my 50th birthday, and I could hardly move at all. You know, every hour I could just about shuffle from one side to the other. That was it. Couldn't lift my arms, couldn't raise my head, couldn't do anything. And I did have a vision of Jesus at that time, sitting on my bed, just patiently waiting. That was just before my birthday. So that was Jesus coming in my experience, which was very comforting. And then on my 50th birthday itself, I just felt the question was in my mind. If this is how your life will be from now on, you know, so limited, so shrunken, do you accept it? Would you accept it? And I could give, it gives me so many goosebumps. I even had me in tears. I could give from the heart, yes.
Yeah.
Because I had linked with a different identity and a knowing this wasn't life.
Yeah.
There was a life worth living, even if the body could only do that. And I feel convinced that was a step my mind needed to take to go into recovery.
Yeah. Yeah. I can feel it. This is the key.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Such
Beautiful.
blessing. Such blessing. Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah.
All right, let's open it up for more questions. You can raise your digital hand. You can wave your biological hand, and I will give you the opportunity to speak to KironJ. Yes, I'd never like to speak.
Hi. I missed the beginning of this talk, but I understand that you were very, very ill for like 6 years and almost like and so on. Yeah. Because I'm in a situation I have been ill a lot for many, many, many years, on and off, but almost like chronic infection, fever, fatigue, like with hope. And then I found the course in January, which I've done like all in. And it's helped me, of course, a lot with the practical, really practical lessons that I needed so much. And now my question is like, I'm also in like that in between, the emptiness that you talked about, Anna. I know I experienced that a lot because I was in a vacation in Denmark in a beautiful place by the sea. I got very ill, probably COVID, and now it has come back. And it's like part of me just surrendered. Okay, I can be ill all winter, all fall, doesn't matter. I stop with the hopes of going to dances, and like I love to dance. Even like how am I going to support myself? I have now no idea. I had to like just surrender to that, which was very fearful. Because most of my life has been, okay, I'm going to support myself financially when I'm ill most of the time. Like, yeah. So it was a kind of a freedom in that surrender. But then comes the fear, and it comes when I get more ill now recently. I also get sad and fear. And the love that we seek is so different from the egos, from what we have done all our life with the ego, trying to get fulfilled by like the senses, the experiences, to give a little bit of, fulfillment or pleasure or hope. So the love that we search for is so abstract. And I'm like, I don't know that kind of love. I have like prayed, I have all my life for like when I've been ill and so I have some connection with God, and before I had Jesus, but now it's more like Holy Spirit. When I need to pray, I pray to the Holy Spirit because I feel like that's like a bridge. And I just wanted to tell you, like when you're in this emptiness, and that it's so, I'm used to like, I'm so, in my body.
Tactile, yeah.
The senses, so much like emotions. So the love that the peace that I really long for now is the peace that when you can say, doesn't matter how my body is, I still want to be here, because I have felt all the time that if I'm just supposed to be ill, I cannot do the things I love.
Shall I come in and say something?
Like why am I here?
Yeah.
If I'm just going to like lie in bed and have a fever and
So what's coming to me as you speak is to offer, because you're quite new with the course, so please keep going. That's an obvious thing to say, because it goes deeper and deeper. The support gets stronger and stronger as we go deeper and deeper. And to have a realization that the course, if we keep studying the course, keep practicing the course, it will lead us to have a completely different set of values. What's important to us, what we want, what we think is vital for our lives, helpful for our lives, what we've always liked doing. Oh, I've always been like this. It's going to put the spotlight on everything like that and ask us to see differently. It's inviting us slowly, gently, to come to a place where we have completely empty hands. coming unto our God, which means we're not saying, oh, but I want to go swimming. Oh, but I want to go dancing. Oh, but I've always been a physical person. That's got to keep going. We have to be prepared to let go all of it, because all of it is, if we think we're really a person and we want this, all of it's an attack on God, an attack on truth. However lovely it seems in the world, oh, go swimming, go hiking, go dancing with friends, how lovely. No, this is the ego saying, you can live without God. Excuse me. You can be a person and it can work. And it can work because you can go dancing. You can earn your own living. That's ego. And the more we study the course and the more we practice the course, we will see that that is ego. There's no value in anything that's not eternal. So a body that can dance one day, have a fever the next day, work the next day, that's all ego. And if we want, and this requires deep, deep looking, I would say, to see if we want this person to work, we might dress it up in, no, I want to study A Course in Miracles, I want peace. But underneath the subtext, the hidden messages, but it's got to look like this. I want to be Anna, you're another Anna, I'm just seeing. I want to be Anna, and I want to be like this. Then we are rejecting the truth of ourselves. And that is the sickness. That is the suffering. And that's what needs to be healed. It doesn't mean that you'll never go dancing or swimming or hiking or whatever. I'm a ski instructor. I do a lot of physical work. However, how I see that has totally, totally changed. When I go to the ski slope, I'm a mind dreaming I'm a ski instructor. I'm a mind learning that it is not limited by human activity. I'm thinking the activity. I'm not doing it. I am the mind that's thinking it, and the mind is outside time and space and has no limits on it. Then we might have a reflection of a body being able to get up and do. So that's quite a lot, but sort of summarizing it, my gift, my encouragement is to focus on the healing of your mind. And the mind is sick whenever it thinks it's Anna, whenever it reacts positively or negatively to something in the world, it's sick. And the projection might be a fever, a tiredness, or whatever symptom you have.
Yeah. I guess my mind has been really, really sick for a long time. And I can understand that now. I can understand, right, because I felt so victimized. I felt so anger against the world, the society, the healthcare, the systems.
Yeah, that's all a chosen sickness. It's all a chosen sickness. And when you see it's a chosen sickness, then you have the power to choose again, to heal again.
So this, like what I call like an abstract love, I will get like closer and closer the more I do the forgiveness work, and less, and I can feel it has already started to happen.
Yes.
Because if this was a year ago, I was in panic because I was ill all the time, and now I'm like more okay. I don't care. I don't care. I don't give a fuck. I don't want to be stressed anymore.
Okay.
About the world or body. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
All blessings to you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Anna. All right. Who else would like to speak with KironJ? Claes is the next one.
Hello, class.
Hello.
Hello.
I have a question about the word forgiveness. In Swedish, it has a different saying. Mm-hmm. In Swedish, we say förlåta, and I think in English it would be sort of for let it be.
Okay.
I don't know if you understand my question, but I wonder if you could say something about that, because
yeah,
it's not an easy word,
right? Yes.
Or förlåta.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, thank you very much for the question.
Yeah.
Part of the genius, the power of A Course in Miracles, is that it takes words that have a meaning here in this world, words that we think we know, we understand, and gives them a completely different meaning. So the form is the same, forgiveness, and in the worldly sense, it is seeing something's happened that we don't like, but we're not going to get angry. We're not going to blame the person. We're going to let it be. And there's all kinds of different small variations to that way of seeing forgiveness. So it doesn't matter whether there's an English understanding or a Swedish understanding, or any other language, any other culture's understanding. A Course in Miracles meaning is nothing like any of them. A Course in Miracles meaning is that what you think your brother has done, another person has done, or maybe you've done, has not occurred. So this is radically, radically different from, I mean, an example I often give is, think of a teenager who goes into a schoolroom and machine guns 30 school children. Terrible, terrible, terrible at the worldly level. So one reaction can be attack the teenager, lock him up for life, perhaps give him the death penalty. That would be one reaction. Another reaction would be, oh, but look at their childhood. They had terrible upbringing. Their parents were addicts. They were living on the streets. What else can you expect? Let's not be too hard on them because they had a really tough upbringing. That could be seen as worldly forgiveness. From A Course in Miracles point of view, that is forgiveness to destroy. That is not forgiveness at all. That is an attack on your brother. In fact, all the brothers that seem to have been killed in that example, an attack on Christ, an attack on God, because you are the one that has dreamt that experience. There's no outside world. There's no teenager with a gun. There's no 30 children annihilated. There's an idea in your mind. And that's the picture of it, of attack, of murder. And that'll be your mind feeling guilty about murdering God. So that in your case, it can be class. I hope I'm saying that right. So forgiveness is that process in the mind. That's my projection. I've dreamt of mass murder. So I'm not going to get upset about that. Do not lament the world. There's no point in lamenting the world, the Course says. There's every reason to change your mind about the world. That's my picture. That's my guilt. And I, as a mind, can do something about that. I can see it never happened. The atonement principle underpins the whole course. And the atonement principle is separation never happened. Class never happened. KironJ never happened. Anna never happened. This Zoom call never happened. So this is a deep, deep recovery process that we need to go through. And I would say forgiveness is an overall term for that deep recovery process. It's coming to accept the atonement principle, which means none of this has happened, including I haven't happened, including my 6 years lying down hasn't happened, including the allergy hasn't happened, including Swedish versions of forgiveness, English versions of forgiveness. None of it has happened. Now, most of us can't go, oh, okay, I get that. Most of us have to be willing to open our minds in that direction. So I appreciate we're probably coming to the end now, but I hope that's given you something to contemplate.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Claes. So we are on the top of the hour. Would you like to take more questions, or?
I can stay for a little while, just perhaps if you want to, perhaps another 10 minutes, but I can't spend much longer than that. I've got other things to do. So yeah, I'm happy to stay.
Questions or just thoughts that you want to put out there?
Well, I'm happy to take if somebody's got a question.
Yeah.
Then
so
that would be good.
Marie has something.
Yes. Hello. Hi.
Hello, Marie.
Yeah.
Hi there.
So the mind just came with. Can you speak about the happy dream?
Right. Yes, I can, if you'd like me to do that. It can be very misunderstood. The ego can jump on this and say, oh, you can be happy in this dream. Okay, let's call it a dream. And now be happy. Be happy as this person in the dream. And the ego will, or our mind, wanting to listen to the ego, will happily go that way. Oh, it's great. I can be me and I can have a good job, the right partner, whatever. That is not what the course is teaching. In my understanding, I offer you my understanding. The happy dream is when we do indeed get to see it's a dream. We are willing to see more and more that we are the mind dreaming of being this person and it all happening. And the happiness comes from this growing connection with spirit. The happiness comes from remembering who we truly are. The happiness does not come from anything in this world. It can look like it. It can look like, as our mind heals, like my body is so different from how it was in those 6 years, which, I'm very grateful for. But that's not where the recovery was. That's not where the recovery is. It's in my mind. And the reflection is a body that seems to be more normal. The Course says that our only pleasure is doing God's will. And if we try and find pleasure elsewhere, eating chocolate, drinking wine, having sex, walking in the sunshine, you name it, however you might want to find bodily pleasure, be happy, have the right relationship, it will end in tears because the ego is leading the way. The ego is saying, you're this person and this person can be happy. So the happy dream is, no, I'm not this person. I'm happy because I'm remembering I'm the Christ. I'm remembering the truth. Oh, and look, there's a picture of me walking on a beach. There's a picture of me talking with friends, whatever the picture might be. But we are not deceived by where the happiness comes from. Then we're in the happy dream. Does that say something to you?
Yeah, thank you so much. And my experience is that I feel less and less attached to things around me. It's not really that important. It's more what's going on now. There is more peace, and there is something else that has nothing to do what's going on in the world. So yeah, just thank you for confirming what's going on.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful that your mind is opening and realizing that it's not a human happiness that's possible, but it's the peace and the love and the joy that we're remembering and perhaps having reflected. That's the happiness. Yeah. Yeah. And a trap is to go in this direction and then think, oh, that was nice. Oh, I like that. And we make it real again. Then we have to come back out of that trap and know where the happiness is all over again. Yeah. Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you, Marie, for that. That feels actually like a good place to end the meeting in the happy dream. Because even though, I mean, if we are sick, and I work with palliative care, people who are dying, can be in the happy dream regardless of the storms or seemingly outside of us.
Yes, yes, yes. And that's what we have to be prepared for.
Yeah.
Not to think, oh, it's always going to result in, dying of painful death or anything like that. But we have to be open to that possibility. We have to say, whatever needs to be cleared, I'm willing. And I just feel to bring in Frances Yu, as this is how we came together, because that was probably one of the last interviews that she had, because she was working in Japan, wasn't she? But she may have had something else, but it was the 29th of May, and then she started getting really sick, I think, in the July when she came back. And we didn't know. I kind of sensed something was not quite right, but I had no idea. So just thinking about that mind, I mean, this is all in our mind, but that mind, honoring that mind, all the forgiveness work that she did, all the connection that she made, all the teaching that she gave so that she could receive her own healing. And it resulted in what looked like a terrible death. But that's not how we need to see it at all. I see it as the mind choosing to do the last bit of cleaning. Can she see what might have been an ongoing pattern in her dreaming, perhaps, difficult deaths? Can she go through it completely connected or connected enough? Same with Jesus, terrible death, but seeing it all so differently. But just wanting to honor Frances now, the mind that dreamt it was Frances, and know that that was a powerful, powerful healing that mind chose, as I see it.
Yeah. Me too. I was thinking the same thing. I heard the same prompt actually. And how she's still teaching us.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, indeed. Yeah.
Thank you so much. This was wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you, Anna, very much for inviting me. Thank you, everybody who's attending. Thank you, everybody who might listen to the recording. Thank you for recording it.
Yeah. I will send you the recording. And I also wanted to say the next meeting is on Sunday at 7 p.m. Swedish time. And we have a Swedish guy who is coming and I will interview. So if people would like to come and join on Sunday, welcome.
Yeah, okay, beautiful. Thank you, thank you.
Thank you so much.
All blessings. Yeah.